Hey, I'm Richard Miller with Goldie May, and this is the live genealogy research series. Watch as James Tanner and I, along with invited guests, work through a genealogy problem with no script and no agenda. Maybe you'll learn from the big strategy, maybe you'll learn from the small features in the tools, or maybe you'll just see a better way to do it and you can leave a comment so we can all learn. I hope you find this really helpful. Now, here is the research. Okay, welcome to episode 15. I'm here with James Tanner, and today the case I'm bringing is from one of my ancestors, my third great grandmother, and a missing child case. So let me share my screen and I can show you what this is all about. Okay, I'll pull up Josephine, and she's my third great grandmother, buried in Provo from Denmark. We've looked at her before, but what's going on here is that if I go to the 1900 census and 1910 census, which have those really great questions on how many children have you had and how many of them are still living. Let me open up these records. When we browse down to her on the record, she says, here's Josephine Cook. She said she's had 9 children and 2 of them are living. And then if we go to the 1910 census, it's actually the same. Here she is. 9 children living, 9 children total, 2 living. So when I go to the tree, however, scroll down to her children, there are 8 children. And yeah, you can see 2 living. So Agnes lived beyond 1910 and Arthur lived beyond 1910. But the other 6 in this case have died early, but that leaves 1 missing child. So, James, I thought I'd bring this to you and ask if we suspect a missing child, then where do we go from here?
Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the dates and see what's going on. The marriage date, check on the marriage date.
Okay. So let's see, 1872.
But look and see if there's a source for the marriage.
Okay.
We want to see if that's just somebody put that there or if we actually have a marriage record. So the idea here, of course, is to have a supporting record for every one of the events. That's the ideal. It's sometimes very, very, very difficult to do that, even with people that are well known. But basically, that's kind of what we'd like to have.
Okay.
So here we have church records. So you could check to see if any of those are a marriage record.
Okay.
It's up above. You had it.
There. Oh, these other page.
Denmark church.
It's a confirmation of a. No, this is Josephine. Yeah, that's her.
That's her
confirmation at age 13 or so. So that's another one, confirmation. And then 1870, she's now about 24. Marital status single in the census. And then here, I think, is her marriage record, Josephine to Christian Cook, 1872. So
okay.
Yeah, that looks like the right one.
Okay, so then we go back to the list of the children.
Okay.
And we have a 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78. There's the break.
The gap.
78 to 82 and then to 84.
Okay.
So apparently
this also happens to be the gap where they migrated to the US.
Yeah.
So born in Denmark, and then Carl's born in Salt Lake.
So there may have been one more child born in Denmark, or there may have been another child born in Salt Lake.
Okay.
So that's the biggest, with that kind of spacing on the children, it seems highly unlikely that unless there was a twin, which is possible.
Yeah.
Twin birth. And the easiest way to check that is just to go look at and see if apparently you will have from the list up there, the sources, you're going to have a church record for each of the children.
Okay.
And if there was a multiple birth, then in the church, they would have noted that in the record.
Okay. I'm just going to take a screenshot of these children to have reference of it while we research. Okay. So sources. Okay. So do you want to go through one by one and check these birth records for each one?
Yeah, we can do that. if we're going to, I mean, that would be the process. We can kind of
Okay.
speed through that a little bit. Just check real quick.
Okay.
So
Lydia, here's
it's
the
going to
first
say
one.
multiple, if it's just like that, you're just like, that's what we're looking for.
Okay. So you're just looking for that kind of keyword is in entry 4, right? Because we're looking for her in someone else's record.
Right.
So Lydia, Agnes, Alma, there's the third child. Selma Marie is 4. Olga's 5. Arthur is 6. And then Carl is in Utah. So
So let's look what was the date that they arrived in Utah?
Let's see if we have that. I'm not sure offhand.
It would be in the 1900 census.
Oh, great. Yeah. Okay. So the tree is saying 79 or 80. Let's see what the 1900 census says. And I had that open, didn't I? So let's go to.
Yeah, if you scroll over a little bit, it'll say
1883,
84.
I never noticed they didn't arrive at the same time. Okay, so 83, 84, and that's a little bit later than the tree says. That's good to know. Oh yeah, that's indexed there is 84.
Yeah, so let's look back at the children. See, this is just looking at what you already have is extremely important because basically you may already have answered the question and you don't, if you haven't been through this process carefully with almost every single one of your people, then you may be overlooking information that pretty well solves some of these. So if we look down there, it says Carl Koch, the last one, was born in the United States. Let's click on that because it says he was born in the United States, but look at let's go back to make sure we've got the right immigration and the right people. Yeah,
because we're saying she emigrated.
Yeah,
she emigrated in 84.
Make sure we have the right family from that in the census record.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yep. Just back to here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So
okay. So yeah, we've got Christian, Josephine, Arthur,
and says he was born in December of 1879. and that says he was born in Denmark.
Yeah.
Well, she was, and then the child says he was born but they're saying that they immigrated in 83 and 84. And they
so that doesn't quite line up with Carl being born in Utah, does it?
And it also says that they have a naturalization record, which probably no one has. I didn't see one in your list of sources.
Good thought. Yeah, I don't see anything there.
Yeah, that's a pretty obvious one that it gets overlooked, especially if people aren't concerned about where they came from. In other words, if we have records that show exactly where they lived in the foreign country, in Denmark, in the other country, then there's probably no one's having any real incentive, but it's still a really good thing to look at the naturalization record. There may be some other issues on that naturalization record that need to be resolved or added in.
Yeah, that seems really important because if they really immigrated after Carl was born, but if we can find also a record that Carl really was born in Utah, then maybe this isn't the right child for them or something. But that does seem important to sort out.
Yeah. In other words, we have an anomaly here. We have a child is supposedly born in Salt Lake in 1882, and they state that they were immigrants in 1884, 83 and 84. So you can't, can't have it both ways.
Yep.
You're basically
So naturalization records, there was some point that they were under the federal government, and before that
Well,
they
that's
were
1906. That's the magic
1906.
number.
Okay,
Is the
so
federal
not
government.
quite yet for them.
So these records, this naturalization record here, is going to be in the district court or
Okay.
in the local court in Utah. In 1882, that would have been territory, which also is wrong down there saying Utah because it was Utah territory.
Okay. Yeah. So we want to go here, I suppose, to
I'm
look
not
for.
I'm not perfect in remembering Utah because I didn't.
And this is.
I've lived here all my life, so I can't remember things like when their statehood was. But you can check that real quick and just say Utah statehood and do a search. And it'll 96.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was
So
remembering. I just don't like to make those quotes
before.
out of my head.
Yeah. Okay, so naturalization I see in the catalog here.
1851 to 36 naturalization record, Salt Lake
That
County
looks really strong. Okay.
District Court.
Names A through, and we have a Cook, so we probably want that one. And they also spell it, I guess we could try COK first and see how that comes out. Wow, 23,000 pages. I've not seen that before.
No, and you're not going to be able to find that real quick.
Let's see if we can.
But go back. There's an index. Nope, there's not. Okay.
Okay.
Bad. Life is tough, and then it gets worse.
Life is tough. Okay, let me see if I can jump.
The only thing you can do is
there
just if we get it close to a date, then they're probably in chronological order of some kind.
Okay. Do you think this is after they go alphabetical?
Well, if they're alphabetical, then go to the next one and see the dates. No, they're not in date. No, they're all over the place.
Cornish. All Cornish is here.
But alphabetical is good.
Yeah, we can live with that. So there's William Cook, and we want to find Christian and Josephine. I mean, there's enough Cooks here to last a while.
Well, they're obviously not much very alphabetical order either, because the first names are jumping all over the place.
So I didn't see any Josephine through the J's. I guess we're going now to Christian.
There's Christian W.
That I believe is him. It's William. Okay.
And so there's a number there for the certificate because this is just a card catalog of the actual entries.
Okay.
So now I'd pursue that. The problem is it probably says something like really important, like he was born in Denmark.
And that's it. Not too much more.
Yeah.
Okay.
But see the interesting, this one doesn't have a date of their immigration either on this record. All these records are different because every state had their own system of doing it. And so basically that's why it was put under the federal government in 1906 for naturalization.
Okay. So we are looking for certificate 3, page 409. Okay. And is that back to here?
See, you have two basic records. You have a declaration of intentions, and then you have the actual naturalization. So you need to go through, and you don't need to do that right during today, but you need to go through all of this and see if you can pull up. If you have a number for the certificate, then you can pull it up by the number.
Okay. So let's see if I can do.
Nope, doesn't have the number. It just has a date. No, it has a certificate 3 on page 109 of something.
Okay. And we think this was in 94.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's going to be a bit of a search. And like I said, it can get to be it's kind of discouraging if you spend a considerable amount of time looking for it, and all it says is he came from Denmark. Thank you for being an American.
Okay, so it doesn't.
There's 23,000 of. No, that's the no. There's 441.
Now, if I go back, I wonder if his naturalization was September 1st, 1894. That is the exact date of that borderline here.
Hey, wow, that'll be
a
good.
volume. So you think this certificate 3 means volume 3? Like it's this one?
Maybe. Or that could be it.
Okay. So James, are you saying it may not be worth our time to do this right now, but because it may just yield very little information?
Yeah, but
okay.
There's always the possibility that they say something about how many he has a wife and so many children or whatever.
Okay.
Now these are just standard forms. They're not going to have any information.
Okay. Well,
except there's another reference, volume 31, page 260, for example, on that one. Okay, so the next one you'll want to go to is church records.
Okay.
And that would be LDS church records.
Okay.
And so that's going to take going to the census, looking at the census and figuring out exactly where they lived, and then figuring out what ward and stake they were in.
Okay. So what would be a good census to see their exact address? 1900 would have
1898. I mean, 1900, 1910, 1920, any of those.
Okay. Since I've got it pulled up, I'll do the 1910 here.
Yeah, now you go clear over to the end. Now you'll see it says second north on the side of the.
Oh, second north. Yep. Up and down.
And then if you go
165.
And then you go up, keep going up, and you'll see what the next street was, third west. So they were on
second north and third west in Salt Lake. They're in Provo by now.
Oh, okay. So
yep.
Second west, third Provo.
This reminds me, I think by the time they were in Provo, I had an address for them because I saw it in a newspaper clipping, and it might have been on the husband, but I think I could get their exact address. So if you could parlay that into ward and stake in the church, then that would be
that's a possible search. In other words, the information is there. Ward maps and things like that are all historical records that are available, but they're not readily. I'm going to say they're not readily available, meaning probably not going to find them on FamilySearch.
In the library.
You're going to probably have to dig into probably the church history library in downtown Salt Lake City.
Okay.
And if you go to FamilySearch, it might be faster to do this than even to try to find the record from someplace else. Go to the catalog and then put in Provo. And then do church records. Now you're going to see the annual reports and go back and see how far back they go.
So 55, these are 42 and on.
Yeah.
1849.
Here's the church records, 1880 to 18. That's reorganized. See, here's some biographical reviews and church records.
Okay, so it's a little spotty, I guess, the coverage here.
Yeah, see here's the annual genealogical reports for me, 1907. See, what you'd want to do is look in each one of those years for Provo and see what kind of. Now that says it's still in microfilm.
Yeah.
What that's meaning now with FamilySearch, and this will change over time, all of the microfilm records have been digitized. But the digitization turned out to be tremendously faster than anybody anticipated. original estimate was around 30 years, and it really only took about less than 10 total.
Oh, incredible.
And because of the advances in technology. But that means there's a huge number of records that are not readily available as in the catalog. So now here's what you do. See that number right there, to the DGS number?
Yeah.
Copy that.
Okay.
And then go to images, to up at the top, go search images. And put in that number. And nope, they don't have
Nothing.
it yet.
Okay, but they could, right? We could keep checking.
Start again with Utah. Put in Utah place, and then search the image groups. Now go show advanced search down the bottom, and then put in that number. Okay. Yeah.
Cool. So they could have it sometime.
So they're still in the process of working with that particular set of images. But this is where it will show up if first, even before the catalog.
Okay.
But it's
so if we were to find,
go ahead.
When we find that image, whether here or in person, what would we expect to see inside it?
Oh, well, the church genealogical record would have the whole history of the person. It's the report forms were about 3 feet wide, and so they go across and they record every important date, birth, death, all the church ordinances, marriages, everything.
Okay, so she might have said then that she had this other child that we don't know about now.
Yeah, well, if a baby was born and it would have been recorded, even if it had died within a few days.
Okay, cool.
The church would have recorded it. The church would have recorded it because they would have. There's a very good possibility that there was a blessing of the baby even during a short period of time.
Okay. Well, just for the sake of covering more ground, what if we thought that baby had been born in Denmark? What would we want to check?
Okay, well, you're going to have the same thing in Denmark because the Danish church records are still going to record if a child lived.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if the mother, there's a kind of a long discussion that's been going on for some time about stillborn infants. And there's a lot of difference. The problem with stillborn is that it's a concept that is cultural. Children who live up to a year after birth are sometimes categorized as stillborn, depending on cultures. And children who are not viable and do not live after their actual birth or during the birthing process are what we would classify as stillborn, but that's not the case in every country. And so there's been a discussion going on, kind of, let's call it generally in the genealogical community, about the definition of stillborn infants. Expand that to include those places where they're not necessarily children who die.
I see.
They may also be children who die before they are baptized in the church, which if the church does infant baptism.
Okay. Do you know if the 1900 or 1910 censuses has any nuance about what the numerator was supposed to define as a child born?
No,
when they asked that
they
question?
just asked the parent.
Okay, so it's up. That definition would come from the parent, whatever they mean by that.
Just parent's number.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's obviously, and it looks like there's a break in the dates that would indicate that there is a child that's missing. And so it would be worth looking back at those records. Probably since we have the church records. So if you click on the child born, last born in Denmark, and look at his birth record, we have there the whole information where it came from. We got the original record. So if you click on that record, it would be worthwhile to do a search forward in time for that record to see if there is any further records of a child who didn't happen to get picked up.
Okay, good thought.
And you would that that forward search would go up until the time that you knew that they had left, which probably would be noted in the church record too.
Okay. Good. Well, this
Because
is
in Denmark, you often see a notation in the church record that they left for America or they
oh,
left
okay.
whatever.
Yeah, that'd be really nice to find that too, to have it on both sides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it'd be worthwhile to start with the date of that first child and just go through the same record, just page by page, and see if there's an additional record for that family.
Okay. Maybe I'll look for Josephine on page, and you might just shrink it down small and be able to see it easier and then go forward. I can't remember. Is there a way to jump back to the search form for this collection if it exists from this page? Or do I need to go find it elsewhere?
You mean to the original record or the?
Not the original, but the index search engine where I can type in.
Yeah, you just click on where it says Denmark Church Records. And then you're going to have to go to wherever it was, Copenhagen.
Okay, let's go on.
Yeah, there's the records. There's the deaths and births.
And then to search this, I would have to go back to find this under like records, right? Just do.
No, it's probably not. It's probably not all indexed. So you probably just have to go through it page by page. It might be, could be. Yeah. Well, if it's not indexed here, it's going to be indexed in MyHeritage, because MyHeritage has them all indexed.
Okay, good. Well, that gives me some good things to do here then.
Yeah, and the missing child is a really good project. I'm going to call it, I guess, to do. It's just something that we'd like to make sure that we have everybody in the family accounted for. So
yeah, I mean, I love.
Go ahead.
Well, I love the 1900 and 1910 census for that reason, to just give you a little bit of a checksum or give you a total on what you might be looking for there.
Yeah, and then with this family, you have a couple of questions because there seems to be a disparity between the immigration date and the naturalization date.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great anomaly to look into too, and just see if that first child in Utah really belongs to them, and just firm that up real well.
And also to see if that first child and was actually born in Denmark instead of in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, right. That's a great point. Yeah. Okay, well, good. That's okay. Yeah, thank you, James. This is helpful. I appreciate it. And we will talk to you again.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thanks.